Hey, welcome everybody. Special edition here. I've got Luke from Fjord Serpents, hence the background. Gonna do this is totally off the cuff. We're just probably gonna talk and ramble, but we've been trying to get together for a couple of weeks since got his product in the store, be taking it to um, conventions actually coming up. Recon. I'm gonna be running. Couple games. Edgar, who got me into this mess, no, to this game, is going to be running some. So yeah, this we're just probably going to sit here and talk. I did have some questions. This is actually for me because sometimes I do ramble. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Hey, how you doing? Luke, obviously. Hammer in the North is my business that I've got here. Fjord Serpents is the first Kickstarter we did actually a couple of years ago. It's taken a while to get around to and produce, but we're there now. Obviously, as Alan's got the product, which is great. Um, yeah, my background's mainly in business management, and I spent most of my life doing historical living history, so recreating historical things and doing all manner of medieval reconstruction and armor and weapons and stuff like that, but also doing games and comics when I was earlier in my back in the day. I published comics and games after school. That's what I did back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Bit of a different scene then, but and I got a real job and a family, and as I say, and then done all sorts of things from the army to yeah everything in between. But yeah, COVID came around, and what I decided to do was I had all these books just full of ideas again for gaming, and I always wanted to get back into publishing again. And yeah, that's how Fjord Serpents was born. I couldn't do anything really, so I was sort of locked in my forge and my workshop, and I just thought, let's pull out all these games with the extra time we've got and create something. And there, this is Fjord Serpents. This is how it came about. It's taken, well, what's that, like 4 or 5 years now, really, to get to an end product from a concept. So yeah, that's the tight nutshell.
Uh, how, I know, and I've had my store for 9 years. Design stuff. And they all kind of have a different story of how did they start. I know once again you mentioned your background is Vikings, true history, and you did
Mhm.
some Viking LARPing, I believe, and made weapons and all that fun stuff. But how did that
Oh
turn
no,
into a game?
yeah, it's more no, it's a full-time job, like actual medieval armor and weapons and stuff like that, and forging and all that sort of thing. Not we've got a bit of history because we're sort of replicating history and then doing using those things like as they would and stuff like that, like camping and etc. As far as the game, I think I've been doing about 25 years. I was about what am I now? 46. So I was about 20 when I started. So that's 26 years actually. When I started reenactment and stuff like that. But um, it's I suppose it sparked that interest in me of the actual Viking stuff, and then I started looking into a lot more like genealogy and culture and stuff, and then realized, oh wow, yeah, like most of my family is from Northern Europe primarily. And then yeah, just getting obsessed with it, I guess. But that really drove like a lot of what I did with Fjord Serpents itself, is because I used a lot of the knowledge that I had to sort of put that into the game. You know what I mean? Like, and you'll see that in a lot of the mechanics. Like a good example is like when two ships are boarded, they weren't the kind of ships that just you just sort of bum rush the side and ford each other, and it just doesn't work in these little long leaf-like ships. I mean, not really designed for just like a big Roman thing or something. You can just like pump troops across. Like the Vikings used to actually like choose their best picked troops, and then they would assault a point in the enemy ship supported by everyone, and that's the sort of aspect to try to get with the game itself, like to bring in those kind of things. You know what I mean? There's a few liberties that I made historically, but that was more for strategic kind of play. I mean, like separating weapons into types. Like you've got your herdmen, axemen, swordsmen, and spearmen, which will come out as well. And really, that was just for more strategic acumen, so you could play around in the game and you know have
Sure.
more choices, I guess, as a commander or jarl. But it wasn't
Yeah.
just gaming.
And
Sorry, you go. Yeah,
no, that comes across the. I like how you made all the types of figures are they're unique. They're all very unique. They all because we're going to play this weekend. I'm getting all my ships together, so we'll play this weekend. But watching all the videos and reading the rules, very unique. I like that. So, but that all came
yeah,
from, like you said, this your history background. So how and I guess it's the math behind the game. Is that all you're doing too?
yeah.
The mechanics.
Yeah. I didn't want to
So
I sort of look at what other people are doing and then try and do the opposite generally. And my next game's a bit like that too. Yeah, and I wanted something that obviously it's a historical setting, and sometimes like I play a lot of historical war games as well and have for a very long time. And some of them can get a bit logged down and a bit slow moving. I find some of them like so. I wanted something that was rapid, you could play within an hour, but had that you could expand it to be a very big fleet. Sort of like we've played. My favorite way of playing Fjord Serpents is with my mates, and like I think the best we've done is probably five-a-side, and we had like a ship each and two fleets, and it's just easy to run. You've got your own ship, and it's quick as long as you don't drink too much and you've got someone moderating and who knows what they're doing.
yeah,
You
well,
can keep it under control.
you
But
always got the one guy there.
we are doing Viking stuff here, so thankfully most of my friends brew mead and
Yeah.
stuff, so it's we generally get to do it.
So
But
you
yeah,
you
I just
mentioned
wanted to
you've
play.
been
Yeah,
playing.
yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah, I was.
and if folks didn't catch, Luke is actually in Australia, so he's like a he's like tomorrow. So you see in the future right now. So
I'm in the
sometimes
future
we
now.
are
Yes.
having a little lag. We're having a little
Yeah,
lag. So, but go ahead, Luke.
yeah, there is a little lag between your voice. That's probably why I'm answering. Sorry. Yeah. I really with this one, I just wanted to make it uh, fast paced, but then have enough depth that it was replayable. That you could collect, you could really theory craft your lists and stuff. Like I don't know if you really looked into the list creating, but there's a lot in that. Like there's literally thousands of combinations of fleets and leader types and abilities and stuff like that. So I actually haven't discovered all of those things myself. I wrote them and play tested as many as I could, but you can't play test thousands of combinations. So like I've got a lot of Easter eggs within there. You know what I mean? So like people discover things that really work well together. So I hope once it sort of
Oh yeah,
settles down a bit, from the release, I think, and people start actually thinking about competitive play and stuff like that, they'll find a lot of little things in there where they can make some pretty nasty fleets, and we'll see what's strong and what's not. I guess a bit of an
yeah, and
experiment.
what a, a third of the rule book is that list building. Which right about a third. It's probably
Yeah,
more than the
yeah,
actual rules.
probably, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Like I wanted to go right into it. You know what I mean? Like with that stuff, and you can just really tailor, and like around what your leader is. You sort of start from an archetype, you know what I mean, like a historical sort of
yeah,
personality. If you're, excessive and you're, a bit lazy, or you can be a coward. You can be some gung ho adventurer. You can be all sorts of stuff, and then it all sort of flows from there. And then your fleet, you kind of make last. Everything's kind of centered around your jarl and your leader. Which I just want to approach
right.
it from a different sort of aspect. You know what I mean? And yeah, just tailoring things. So I come from like gaming from the 80s and 90s, and I don't know, I'm assuming like you did too, and
Yeah,
things were just so much more uh, like involved. You know what I mean? Like, and I do have a bit of a role play. Like I did start with basic Dungeons and Dragons and stuff back in the 80s too. So I think I've got more. Like I started with more of
yeah,
that role play head sort of thing too. So and I think I had it in mind, like if you wanted to use this as an aid as well, Fjord Serpents. It wasn't just for my game. Like a lot of people are using it for like War Masters, one setting that they're using it in, because beautiful 10 mm ships that are actually to scale for War Masters, something people really wanted. Like I know a lot of people were getting that. Um, some Dungeons and Dragons people I know they were getting it for their fifth ed Viking campaign, so that then when they went on a sea battle, they could just transfer it over and play Fjord Serpents, you know what I mean, for the sea battle and stuff like that. So I wanted to keep it like multifaceted like that, so people would use it however they wanted. And you'll see that with the ship kits themselves. Like I included all the deck fillers in the ships and stuff like that. So people, if they didn't want to model it for Fjord Serpents and have like the crew, they could fill in the decks, they could putty it all up, they could model them, they could use it for whatever they wanted. You know what I mean? So I sort of wanted to make them sort of self-contained, sort of little kits that you'd buy as well, as opposed just to the game itself.
I'm gonna see if I can throw up. I think I got some pictures of some of those ships. Cool. That's um, back to what you were just talking about. The narrative definitely, when I read through the rules and like I said, the list building and stuff, that narrative aspect definitely came out in the game. Let's see if I can get the pictures of the ships. No, not me. Well, there you. There we go. There's some. That's I think these are your Kickstarter pictures. A couple of them I stole.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, the ships. This was you were at a convention in Australia.
Yeah, that one's at CanCon. That's our biggest convention in Australia.
I love
it.
Yeah. That's I love your setup, your display table. We're not going to have my table done for this next week, but we're definitely working on that. I've printed out a bunch of 10 millimeter buildings. We'll have that's the box. This is the ships are great. I had 3 different people. That's the little guys. I'm going to finish up most of those tonight. Here's the family of ships. I had 3 different guys paint on the ships we're going to be using, and they all really enjoyed. They're simple, but there's enough there that you can do. Well, you saw Ryan Peterson. He posted some ships on Facebook, I guess this morning.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah,
those are going to be. That's my fleet. This is we call him Painter Bob. He did these, and I told Bob whatever colors you're going to use, and he loves these blues. I thought that was cool. But yeah, the ships look awesome. Right. So
yeah,
like the little guys.
I think that was one of my main design aspects was that one of my main design aspects was I wanted to 10 mil I went with because it was probably the largest I could make them and be commercially viable. You know what I mean? Like you imagine doing and space as well. I didn't want it to be used on a fairly small board. 15 would have been amazing, like 15 mil, but the ships then become like 30 to 40 centimeters. You know what I mean? That's huge. So and like just selling
$100 for a ship.
Yeah, more. Yeah. But yeah,
and shipping,
I wanted to look down and see all the ships and like a big fleet is coming. You know, like, and particularly when we do the land battle, like mix the theaters together. I wanted to look like, so if you're coming into like a rivulet or something, it'd look like there's this big fleet of ships and it'd look pretty cool, and you have a village and all that sort of stuff. So it was just more of a visual appeal too on that scale.
Well, you mentioned War Master. That was one of my favorite games back in the day, and I'm weird. I love painting smaller stuff. I did a lot of 15 historicals, and then of course War Master and 10 millimeter strips. I can crank those babies out, and I've even got a broke finger, and I've learned to paint doing this. And 10 millimeters, I really don't worry about it. If I have a gross error, I'll go back and paint over. But as long as you get some paint on them, and I'm painting mine fairly bright, they look great, So
yeah, it's that standing and looking level, you know what I mean? Like that's what they need to look good at. And if you've got a few bright shields and everything's neat, then I find that it's a great one. Like yourself, like I love epic scales. That's what I've always really loved.
Like the ship I just posted. That was great with all the guys on there. To me, that looks awesome.
Yeah, and I did want to do like a one-for-one
you mentioned
representation of how many men would be on the ship themselves. So it's a fairly close and accurate, like for the ship sizes, how many warriors you actually have on the ship as well. So that was another factor that I was trying to bring into it as well.
I like that instead of this one guy. That's 500 guys. No, that's one guy.
Yeah. I've played those my whole life too.
So we got a little lag. You mentioned you're going to be doing land. That's still going to be in 10 millimeter.
Yeah, there's a few plans that I have coming up for Fjord Serpents itself. I've got a supplement which is coming out sometime this year. I've still got to figure it out. I'm sort of
Okay.
writing two projects at once at the moment.
Because I
And
know you have your 15 millimeters that
Yeah,
you've
yeah, that's for
posted.
the new game that I'm making called Blade Wrath. It's basically the same setting, but it'll be like a mass skirmish game, I call it, because you're going to be, if you like unloaded that one or two ships of Vikings, that's what you'd have. It's sort of that size. So it's going to, and it'll be Blade Wrath will be more my standard rule set, if that makes sense. So like I can put it in other settings then. So it'll be like if I want to do fantasy or if I
Sure.
wanted to do, it'll be like my core system. I guess Blade Wrath will be so I'll do ancients and all that kind of stuff. So that one there, I am bringing out I just actually got all the hero models done. I'll send you through some pictures later. And I'll send you some
Okay.
samples as well. You'll love them. You love 15 millimeter figures, so I
Yeah, I
grew up
like
playing
15.
DBM and all that sort of stuff too. I
Yeah,
love that stuff.
that's
Yeah,
that was a big. Yeah, I played
yeah.
DBA. I didn't have the attention span for DBM. I
Oh,
played a
okay.
lot of
Yeah.
DBAs.
It's an older system now, but it's still fun to go back and play.
Yeah.
But yeah, those ones are cool. But like Fjord Serpents, the next supplement, as I was saying, it'll be mercenaries and allies. So I'll bring in like the Swedes. I'll bring in mercenaries. So I'll have like Yoms Vikings, and I'll have also returned Varangian Guardsmen and stuff like that as well. And then it'll bring in religion as well. So you'll have Christianity and paganism as well. So you can choose and
Oh,
get different
interesting.
abilities and stuff based on that. And then some more scenarios and more historical based scenarios as well for that one because I've got some famous kings and stuff like that that I'll have like Harold Fairhair and all that, and we'll do some campaigns around that. That'll be like a little supplement. I've got all the miniatures designed already. I've got the book like it's probably like 60% done. Like all the mechanics are done. I've just got the editing and getting it all done of the pictures. That takes me a long time. Um, and then yeah, Blade Wrath's the same. The miniature range is finished for Blade Wrath now. Like I've got 88 unique figures in the 15 millimeter range, so which is pretty good. That's not a bad start. And I thought from a small company perspective, because I'm not super rich and established yet, I thought, well, I'll get the sculptor to repurpose all of my 10 millimeter figures and then make them excellent for 15 mil. And he's done an excellent job. And there's something satisfying, like you'd probably find this too, is like you've been playing 15 millimeter, it's all multi-based and stuff. But when you individually base 15 millimeter figures and have them in units, they actually look really cool. And you probably appreciate that, loving the smaller scales and stuff like that. But Blade Wrath itself will be like miniature agnostic, so like you can use 28 mil, 10 mil, whatever you want to do. It's not just you don't just have to use my miniatures or anything. And I chose 15 mil because it is a popular historical wargaming scale, and I thought, well, it'll go. Other people might buy it for other things. So that was a sort of business decision behind it, but it also looks wicked.
Sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I'm not up to the stage of like 28 millimeter manufacture yet. Like with what I'm doing, I like and I do have a preference for epic scales myself, which so it's own personal bias. But and they seem to be making a bit of a resurgence lately. Like there's a lot of stuff coming out lately that's 10 mil, 15 mil. Like I've been noticing, which is good. I love that. I love how people are getting back into it. Even Games Workshop resurrected Epic, and with the depth of the new one they've got, Legions Imperialis. That's what it's called. They'll probably
Yeah,
do
I'm
War Master
liking
again
that.
one day. Who knows? Now that they've got the old world back, they'll probably do War Master again, hopefully. Or well, who knows? Although the community runs it really good anyway, so you don't need to fix. It's not broken at the moment. So, but yeah.
I lost you there for a minute.
Oh, that's okay. Just talking, yeah,
So,
War Master and stuff
but
like that.
yeah, no, um, yeah, that's back. That's when I was in the Air Force, so I gauge everything by where I was stationed. As when I was in Texas,
Yep.
that's really when I got into the 15 millimeter historical, like you said, DBA, DBM, all the other rule sets, and 15. And if I'm doing, I like 28s for skirmish. If I got 6, 8, 10 guys, but anything bigger than that, I personally really like 15s, 10s. I even got some 6 millimeter Pony War stuff I'm painting, which now that starts to get a little tiny in 6 mil. You got 3 colors on there and you're done. But
yeah,
so
it's like the
back
original.
we're talking about
Epic.
passing. Yes. Why do you think, what games or one game think influenced you the most in the design of
In the
what you do
design.
now?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Hey, I didn't. I kind of locked myself away for a couple of years there, and I didn't really look at other stuff. But it was really weird. I just locked myself away. Just started because I couldn't. We
Sure.
had COVID and that we couldn't go and play with clubs and
Yeah.
that. I did. That's why there's a solo section in the book, is because that's how I played pretty much when I was designing the game. I was just sort of playing by myself. But as far as
Sure.
influences go, it's hard to say with me. Like I mean, my first game that I ever played was the original Dungeons and Dragons in the '80s, and then I went to like the Red Basic set, which was in the '80s, and then
Yep.
from there it just opened up to everything. Like from BattleTech to Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the original one. Original Rogue Trader, first edition, 40,000.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the
Yep.
Rogue Trader, that's still one of my favorite games. All the
Oh
original
yeah.
Realms of Chaos stuff. I guess that was not that has a lot to do with Vikings and stuff, but it's got that. I think it's an influence because the Realms of Chaos books are 2 thick ones that they made. The detail, the level of detail they had in there was something that I was just always taken by. Like just naming your Chaos champion, you'd roll all these dice and there'd be tables and there'd be thousands
Sure.
of
Yeah.
options
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? Like it was just like it was crazy. Yeah. So I guess that was one influence. I guess like everything, as I was saying before, is seem to have a lot more detail than modern games do these days. Modern games seem to be really big print and like 20,000 words. That's your whole book, where it used to be like 200,000. You know what I mean? Like, and it was all just heavy with just
Well,
information and
and
depth and lore and
uh,
like random tables
I
and
like the narrative
that kind
stuff
of
too.
thing. Yeah, yeah, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but definitely expand Fjord
You like you
Serpents that way
said, you
too.
and definitely, yeah, I see that influence. Like it goes back into that list building that you do, and I say list building. As soon as I say that, everybody thinks of 40K. No, it's not that type of list building. It's creating your leader, and then what type of troops is he going to lead, and then how they do that. To, like I said, a lot more narrative in that, which I think once we get into playing, and I've got to come up with some really good campaign stuff. I know you got some in your book um, that once again even adds that you go out and you conquer this something, or it just it really makes me want to do a very narrative campaign with this.
Yeah. Those ones I have in the book, they're kind of like a choose your own adventure. Like you have a starting point, and then how it
Yep.
ends is really on what happens, like who wins what mission and stuff like that. And you get different bonuses and different troops. And sometimes you can reinvent your whole fleet, which is a real advantage if you're going well for the last battles and stuff like that. The first supplement that I'm bringing out, it'll have a full campaign system in it. That's what I was going to say. I didn't say that before. It'll have a massive campaign system actually within that book, and it'll be super detailed. I've got it sort of fleshed out at the moment. But yeah, it should be pretty fun. But there's been a lot of people making up their own sort of campaign things too, which is really cool. If you look in the Facebook's really active, by the way. Like for me anyway, like only a small producer, but it's pretty. Most people post the stuff they're doing,
Oh
working
yeah.
on, which is super inspiring to me as well.
Well, I'm excited. Like I said, I'm you're it's definitely on my list to run at conventions. I just signed up. I don't know if you're familiar with the Historicon here. It's the biggest historical miniature convention in the States. And I've already
Oh wow.
signed up to run a couple events. So I'm very excited about that. And I plan on at least doing demos. I've still got 8 more conventions, something like that, to do this year. And I do a lot of small regional ones, but it's definitely going to be one of my staple events I do. So, like I said, and that's I honestly, I'll say again, I've yet to play a game. I've got one ship painted, and I kind of push I kind of play myself and run through the rules, but course, until you get a non-opponent and he asks you, can I do this? I'm like, so yeah, we're going to get in several games this weekend. Ryan's supposed to get those ships to me, and once again, those ships look great. Once again, you mentioned Facebook, the ships and the troops that the guys are posting on Facebook. Some of that stuff is truly incredible, and I know Ryan was very happy. He said, how do you want these painted? I said, go for it, make it. I just want to look cool. I want bright. And he messaged back and he's, are you sure? I said, yeah. He goes, because there's so much stuff out there that, he kind of, I think, and from what I saw, he definitely went above what I asked him to on the ships. So that's cool.
Yeah, cool. So, yeah, well, you might notice in the book there's a historical chapter, and like you can, it's got like a color wheel, and that's from my own
the color
history group. Yeah, like all the stuff that we've dyed with natural things, and you know what I mean. The movies always get it wrong. They always put them in drab colors and stuff, but they wore very bright. They love bright and they love colors and they love looking good. Wearing jewelry, wearing wealth.
Taken from what you have in the book and what I saw once again on Facebook. That's where I said go bright, and that's where I've gone bright. Every once in a while I'll throw the dark green or the brown in there, but I've got orange, I've got magenta, I've got red, and all. It's fun to do instead of just seeing brown and more brown.
Yeah.
So, well, what else? I don't want to take up. I don't know if you got to eat breakfast or not. So I don't want to take up all your time. I was just
we eat
once
breakfast
again
over here. Actually, there is that myth that we don't exist and that we're paid actors in Australia. It's possible. They're not paying me very well.
It could be.
Yeah.
That's one. I never got to Australia. I tried really hard, and in all my adventures, that was one place I didn't get to go. So, but
yeah, we got some
anything else.
Fairly,
I mean,
stretched out over here. Like you were saying about the tournament scene, not tournament, but like the convention scene. I've been solid doing that with Fjord Serpents for 2 years in Australia. So over in Australia, we've got quite a big backing of Fjord Serpents just for me going around all the time and doing everything, and seeing everyone playing demos and stuff like that. So it's been awesome in Australia. Like when I go to conventions now, people come and they want to play and talk about the game and stuff. So now that it's out there, CanCon, that picture you sent posted before, that was really good because it's the first one I actually had any product to sell. It was an excellent time there. Okay, just can we pause for a sec?
That's
I gotta.
Yeah. I gotta pause. Okay, we're back. I had to take a little break there. Yeah, and I don't know why. I just noticed my background is like all my boxes in my back room. So I'm like, you got the nice background, your logo, and I just got my.
Well, I'm sort of in the process of setting up a studio in here for filming.
Yeah. I'm gonna hopefully. I want to film some of us playing. I've got to figure out. I want to rig up another camera. I had a really nice camera, and it kind of walked off somewhere sometime. So I've got to figure out how to get another, actually nice video camera. So, but anyway,
I'll plan on doing that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything I thought we might talk about. Yeah, like I said, I'm very excited about this. I know in the shop, I'm very interested in playing. As I've mentioned you through emails, I pretty much sold all my product, so that's good to see. It's definitely people know about the game out there. I don't know if that's from the Kickstarter or what, but I think over the next year it's going to catch on here in the States. Uh, it's hard to compete against the big guys, 40K and all that stuff. But I think unique game that it's Vikings. What else? And ship, big, cool ships. So I think it will meet need, and then the other 40K folks, crowd I call them. I think because it looks cool on the table, I think it will get their interest too. So, and I tell you, for you, some of the comments I've had of, I had the box opened up and showing people, and then had the boxes on my main end cap. Everybody's commented that for first time Kickstarter, right? That the production quality is way up there. I mean, the box, the rules, the way you put the rules together, the quality of the ships, the quality of the miniatures. Very very few minor issues with like I said, for a first time publisher. I want to say kudos and outstanding, and that makes me want to look forward to whatever you do next. I think you probably learned a lot from this, so I think what you do next will even be bigger and better. So,
Yeah, I think the learning process has
oh,
been pretty steep.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure.
what you were saying there. Yeah, like it's that's really, thank you for those comments too. It does make it worthwhile because yeah, there was a year period there where I was just like literally every week I thought I wouldn't be getting this completed, and then when you as you said, like because it is my first Kickstarter, and it's not my first game, it's my first Kickstarter, and I had to go and do a totally different way of producing this that I wasn't familiar with, and dealing with Chinese companies was very difficult. Like they you know they do business in a different way. Is probably the best way to put it. And a lot of the time, you've got to double, triple check everything because they changed products. They changed they were changing materials on me. They were like trying to put me in situations where had to pay more money, and it was a bit of a nightmare for about a year there. I was pulling my hair out and not thinking I was going to be able to complete it, and I was just one of those things. I'm one of these people that start something, I've got to finish it. So, and I think the quality of how it came out is a direct result of some of those delays as well, because I actually learned a lot more in that process by being delayed and then getting feedback from people. And then, by going around doing all the demos around Australia and then made changes based on those things. So I think that slow growth sort of thing, although it was painful at the time, I think it sort of helped the end product because after that year of process of negotiation and that, they realized I wasn't going to mess around or budge on anything that we'd agreed on. So they eventually folded. And to tell you the truth, the ships themselves, like were in a different material when I approved it, and then when the ships came out, I was actually pleasantly surprised they were better than they were what I originally wanted. So they must have somewhere in that process gone back to what we had originally agreed on. So yeah, little it's interesting. Like if anyone is out there and they're thinking of gaming and doing it like this, I was quite ambitious for this project because like I think I've got like five box sets and two blister packs. That's a really big first product. Most people sort of do a rule book or a PDF or a miniature
Yep.
range of STLs or something. Like it was very ambitious because I'm a little bit old school. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have my box set and I wanted to have it in shops, and I wanted to that whole thing of what I remember as a kid and all that. So I suppose it was a bit of a bit nostalgic for me to want that. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. So the next product that I'm making with Blade Raft will be a lot more accessible, and it'll have all the PDFs and stuff like that. And yeah, I'll probably go a different route until I sort of get rid of my PTSD on the last one. But yeah, I think now you're right. Like I think once
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a better chain. I'm still not 100% happy with the manufacturers I have, but it's sort of they know me now. They know that I'd hate to have to start that again with another company because it was really not fun. They know where I stand with things, so I think yeah, hopefully it'll be easier next time. You can only hope. But yeah, we'll see with the reorders and stuff like that. I think at the moment, like the way that like everyone's buying the box set, and I've been sold out of that straight away. But next week I'll be able to restock everyone and have some myself. I'll have a few hundred extra sets coming in this week. But I think the Drakkar and the Nar and all those things they're going to sell out really quick because just from a couple of things like that I had an unboxing on tabletop the other day that was on there on their
Yeah.
channel. Everyone
Oh,
just wiped
that
me
was
of
nice.
Drakkars and you wiped me of Drakkars and Nars too. Just they're all gone.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward
Yep.
to getting those as well. So that might be my first restock, I'd say. So we'll see how they deal with me, and hopefully it doesn't take a year. We'll see.
Yeah.
You can only put it out there, man, because you
Let's
don't
hope
know.
not. I'll need.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure I'll need some more too. So,
yeah.
um,
I think once
yeah,
people
like I said,
start
looking forward
doing the list
to.
building and stuff, I think they'll realize that they'll need more of the box set starter ones too, like the Carvies. The they'll start selling once
Yes,
everyone starts to get more competitive because you'll start seeing that you can spam
right.
Carvies. You know what I mean? Like you can have little ships and have a lot of them as a fleet, and that's
I've
actually quite
already
fun.
looked at that.
Yeah,
I can just outmaneuver you.
and
So I lose one
yeah,
ship, I still got five.
yeah. I've got plenty
Yeah,
more. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of different ways you could play and be tactical with that sort of stuff. So with shipbuilding, I think those
I'm
ones will
thinking
start
about.
selling big.
Yeah, trying to figure out how many archers can you get on one ship.
It's a one per three crew rounded up. So yeah, like only the Drak. I think the once you start getting to the Sneckyar, which has six crew, you can have two archer slots. So you can have two, a javelineer, two javelineers or two archers, or one of
I
each.
just want to run around and shoot everybody.
Yeah, it's I base the amount of archers and missile troops based pretty on what we know about Viking warfare and stuff like that, and the best historical guesses we have, and it's about one third of troops would have some sort of form of missile weapon. They're pretty heavy melee focused army,
Sure.
but yeah, but there is, if you have a look at, I think it's the Danes. I think you can create, and they get an ability. There's one of the leader abilities where they can have an extra archer slot on their ship. So you might want to have a look
Yeah,
into that, and you could get
archer
three
shot.
on one of the bigger ships. Yeah, which would make it pretty nasty, bit of a gunboat. Yeah, I am looking forward to like
Yep.
eventually, if I say to move this uh to move the setting to something like Rome or Carthage or something. I am looking forward to how the dynamics of the rules would switch over to something like that because it is a system I could take to another naval thing and then just sort of tweak it
Sure.
for what's needed from that era, and that'd be a completely different game. Because obviously Viking ships primarily didn't ram each other; they sort of rode at each other. But
No.
I put all those the collision mechanics in the game are some of the most fun things I think you can do in the game. You can actually win the game on correct movement and positioning against rocks and wind, and you can actually work it out mathematically and win without even striking a blow, which is kind of cool too. Sort of an aspect I wanted to put into it, and you sort of see how it's the two games in one. You know what I mean? Like you've got the ship
Yes.
movement and maneuverability, and because you've got the
Yep.
two movements and you're always alternating, you can really try and outmaneuver each other, and just your decisions really matter. And it's the same with when it comes to combat. It's like another game in itself where your ship is preparing for one big assault and battle kind of thing, and their ship's sort of doing the same thing. So, yeah, I wanted to sort of keep it like that. Where it was sort of you had a lot of you're engaged all the time is probably the best way to say. It's a game of engagement, like where you're always making micro decisions, but your little micro decisions all add up to a bigger picture. You know what I mean? Like it really matters which crew you activate. You know what I mean? Like some of them are going to be better
Yep.
at other things. You might want to like, you've got berserkers on the enemy, they're going to come over and they're going to wreck your face, and you might want to take a chance and try and shoot them and hopefully hit them, or you could try and assault them first. Or there's so many things where you're trying to escape, like get rid of their grappling hooks and try and escape. So like, yeah, there's a lot of micro decisions. It's one thing with the game I like is that you sit there with your opponent and you kind of help each other because you sit there and you're like, oh well, but if you did this, you know what I mean? Like if you brace with those shieldsmen, then you get this bonus, and then I
Right.
probably wouldn't, that wouldn't work for me, and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a fun. I found it fun anyway, like that. Like just sort of, you know, the interaction you have with your opponents. Where sometimes, like I play a lot of, I have played a lot of Age of Sigmar, and that you can get a little bit disconnected because, like, because it's when it's a you go I go sort of turn thing. It can be a bit laggy. Like I've some tournaments I've sat there for an hour waiting for one person to finish a turn, and it's like, oh my god, I just like my
Yeah,
brain
yeah,
switched off now. I don't even know what I'm doing. Just how many hundreds of dice are you rolling again? Yeah, yeah, okay, that kind of
yeah,
thing. But
yeah,
yeah, not that they're great
yeah. I
systems in
don't.
themselves. But like it's not my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Not my thing. I want to be.
Mm,
I want to have to pay attention to everything my opponent's doing. You know.
yeah,
So, like I said, stay engaged. So,
yeah.
but yeah, there are a couple cool. I tell you what, really finally sold me on the game. I've been watching all your videos and stuff, and the guys that do the podcast, I can't remember their names, Rock, and they did a couple of videos, and they're towards
Hobby
the
homies,
end of
was it?
one
Yeah.
of them. Yes, and they sank a ship. And he goes, okay, you get to make your save rows. I'm like, save rows for what? He goes, to see if they sink or swim. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. That's
Sold.
ultimate. I've never played a naval game where you got to see if your guys got to live. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this is the coolest thing. Then the next thing I know, they're boarding one of his ships. They're actually saving them. I'm like, okay, that is definitely it. Not only can they
yeah, yeah,
survive and swim, you can board them. Then wait, they talked about if they're your enemies, you can use them as cannon fodder.
yeah. You can
As
turn them into thralls.
what's the word I'm hunting for? Flaws, yes. I'm like, oh, that's ultimate. I've never played a naval game where you could actually pick up your opponent's guys swimming and use them. I just like that put me over the edge on that. I said, this
Yeah,
is the coolest thing ever.
and you can.
So
A lot of people really like the fact that you can steal your opponent's ship as well. So like once you've boarded it and
oh yeah.
you've
Yeah.
cleared the ship of all the troops, you could just
Yep.
sail off in their ship and then just go use it as a ram to like take out their other ship, or you can keep it.
Yep.
You can do all sorts of stuff. So it's sort of it's interactive in that way, and it's sort of fun to be able to use your opponent's gaming pieces too. That's sort of fun. Like after you've just rammed it and then you
And
steal it,
then
it's adds that extra knife stab into their heart. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
oh
now I've
yeah.
got your ship.
Yep.
I suppose like if you really wanted to get
Yep.
serious, you could play it you could play it for keeps. You know what I mean? You could say like, okay, well, if I steal your ship, then I own
Yep.
it now. In real life, yeah. If you want to play it like
Yep.
roulette,
Yep. Oh yeah.
so,
Give me
yeah,
a pink
yeah,
slip. I need the pink slip for it.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and
That's
the
right.
other thing, I've got so many of my guys I game with, they complain about always rolling a one or rolling a six. And
Yeah,
I did it doesn't really make a difference, but your novel mechanic of that target number changing each round possibly. I was like, this is awesome. They can't complain about, well, I rolled a one again. I rolled a one again.
yeah,
Well, that could be a good thing this turn. I just
yeah.
thought,
I like
once again, it really doesn't make a difference in the game big picture, but what a novel thing. And once again, it keeps me engaged in what's going on in the game. So
Yeah, that's
that was
why I did
another
it. Was
cool thing.
the engagement really was the main aspect of that dice. But it does have little things like if you roll the same target number, you get weather effects and different random things that can happen. It'll come into play more
The
with the Blade
wind
Wrath
changes.
and
Yep.
it'll come more into play with Blade Wrath and that where that mechanic really becomes its own thing, and it becomes. I won't get into it, but like I'll do some games on that soon and show people how that's progressing as a rule set. But yeah, I take that to the next level with the next game. But it's really, yeah, as you said, it's all about engagement and fun, and that's the kind of games I like to play with friends. Like I can play competitive. I love competitive games. I love going to tournaments and playing and losing. That's fun. I don't care. But like I like just games with friends where you're engaged, you're having a drink, you're playing. It's got its own strategic depth that you're always engaged and sort of talking to each other about what's going on and I guess that was the main design element. Like I wrote down I think when I originally designed it, I put about 10 points that I wanted to achieve in a game, and that was one of them. Was just like more engaging than the games I currently play. You know what I mean? Like I wanted something that you're always just talking and back and forth, and it's quick. You know what I mean? Like the whole game's quick. When you play from the Hearthier level, which is just if you just got the standard box set, and I can play those games in 20 to 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like and then when you go to a tournament game, you're looking maybe 45 to an hour and a quarter to play a tournament game, which is really good too. And if you're like me and you've got limited time, those kind of things matter. You know what I mean? Like when you get older and you got more responsibilities, you're a bit longer in the tooth and grayer.
Yes.
You have to just pick up and play when sometimes, and it's a good game for that too. You can just pick it up and play, and you don't have to. You can think about it as much as you want, or you can just keep it very basic and just just pick up and play and make a fleet and just bash each other on the fjords, And I guess that was one of
Yep.
the design elements.
No, that is cool. So no, once again, I go back and from a retailer, I think this is one of the games. It's going to sell itself now. When we start running demos and doing stuff, it's definitely going to do even better. But like you said, your 2-player, or if you just played the box set, you've done an outstanding job with that, because you do get, if it's 2 players, you definitely get the feel of the game with 2 ships apiece, or like you have mentioned, if you just take the box yourself and use all 4 ships, you basically got almost everything you need. So kudos on once again on that design of that box set. So good job. Anything else? We're running a lot longer than what I expected. I've really enjoyed talking to you. We've done the emails things a bunch and Facebook, but I was really glad and excited to get to talk to you in person. And I'm sure, hopefully, we'll do this again down the line.
Oh yeah,
Anything else for the folks out there?
yeah. Look,
So,
like you mentioned channel before, the Hobby Homies. They're an Australian channel. Yeah, check those guys out if anyone's listening, because they're really good. Really big supporters of what I do. And it was really interesting, the story that it was CanCon, but last year I didn't know who they were. They were a channel. They just sat down for a demo, you know what I mean, like of the game, and we played through the game, and they were just that taken by it that they did all this like videos and stuff on it. So that was just a unbiased kind of review, I guess. And since then we've sort of become friends and going out for drinks and stuff at shows. So it's really good. But I do have a couple of conventions coming up. It's BrisCon in May. So that's in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. It's a pretty big one. I think it's on like the 16th or 17th or something of May. And then I'll be off to hopefully to Moab in Sydney again this year. That's in September. And then PAX, which is a really big one. It's not just gaming; it's pop culture and stuff as well.
yeah,
But it's huge. That's in Melbourne. I've been going to that for 2 years. But I may actually maybe have a stall. It's a big process to get in and very expensive. But I'll see if I am successful.
sure.
But other than that, I'll be running demos, because that's how I've pretty much been doing my play testing. Is what I've been doing is going to places like PAX and that, and getting a good cross section of people playing the game, and you're getting like experienced war gamers, you're getting people who've never played a war game before, you're getting people, and just
Yeah,
you're getting kids, you're getting older people, you're getting all sorts of stuff, and trying to explain your game to them in a logical, straightforward manner that they can just pick up and have fun, in that 20 minutes that you can be playing with them. And that's been
sure.
really essential sort of product and target knowledge for me, because it's helped me to refine, and I think the next rule book I bet will be, my language will be a lot better with refining, like describing things, because of that experience, like of talking to people. I mean, there was once we're at a show, and like uh, an older lady, she must have been in the 70s or something, and she was just looking for something to do. I think her husband was looking around at tin soldiers, and like we all do. And I said, "Oh, sit down, have a game." And
Yeah,
she loved it that much. She has that much fun that she just kept saying, "Oh, can we have another game? Do you have time?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we ended up playing about 3 games. And she'd never played a game in her life. You know what I mean? So hopefully her husband thanks me. She
that's
probably wants to
awesome.
play his games now. So, but like those kind of things, those kind of interactions are always fun, and kids too.
That's cool.
Kids, like I've had 11, 13-year-olds describe the game better than I can describe it. You know what I mean? Like after they've sort of played it, and then they can teach others. So it's been really good too.
Oh
So,
yeah,
but yeah, just
yep,
that's what inspires me going around to
that's
the
awesome.
conventions. I'm sure you do a lot of conventions. Um, I'm sure you get a bit out of that too. But
Oh yeah,
I just like meeting
it's
up with
definitely
friends, and you know,
remotivation.
yeah,
Yes, making new ones, and yes,
yeah,
definitely.
100%.
And I'll post links to. Well, I've got your site, but I'll post some links when I in the comments when I post this.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, sure.
but I
No, that'd
appreciate
be
your
good.
time. And like I said, I go back to Edgar. I mentioned his name in the beginning. I was at Skirmish Con back in January. He just got his Kickstarter like 2 days prior, and we're always getting each other into new games. and he flops down the rule book. I'm like, what is this? And he goes, open it. I start looking at it. I'm like, stop, go away. So he let me borrow the book that night, and I read through the rules and looked at it and started watching videos and go back the next morning. And I said, you're a bad person, Edgar. And that's
We've
when
all got to
the
have a
next
friend
day,
like
that's
that.
when I contacted you going, how do I get this game? So,
Yeah. Oh, thank you
but
so much too. I
that
do
was
really
cool.
appreciate the support as well. Like, and like with everything I do, like America always seems to be the main sort of interest for anything that I do. You know, even with like my medieval reconstruction and making armor and arms and weapons, most of the stuff is it all just goes over to America. Like 90% of my audience is America for that too. So a lot
Oh,
of my
really?
reproduction for historical stuff, yeah. And then this America was the largest backer in the Kickstarter, but then also following on too. So yeah, it's definitely a place that I'll be. I think you'll be seeing me soon out there to some of these conventions. I hope so. I'll definitely pick your brain on where to
Yeah.
go and then you know and use your network to help me. I guess if it comes to that. But
Well,
yeah,
the, like the two off for miniatures said Historicon for historical stuff, and I just got back from a DevCon, which is just the biggest. There was probably 10,000 people there.
yeah.
And any type of miniature game, it was cool. It's just so cool. So, but yeah, that would be awesome for you to make it over here.
I think it's going to
So,
happen. Not this year, but yeah, probably next. I've been invited to Poland, to the UK, so like I think international travel is in my future. So, which is
that's good.
I'm
That's
not exact. Yeah, not exactly in the best place for like I'm so far away from the rest of like the sort of audience, you know what I mean? Because we're in Oceania, we're in Asia basically down here.
yeah.
We're so far away from my main audience and target levels.
Well,
It's always like that with Australia. We're used to
and
it. We have a
you're a day,
very stretched
you're
out small
a day
community,
ahead of
but
us.
yeah, well, I can
You're
tell you
a
what's going
day
to
ahead of
happen
all of us. So
tomorrow.
we're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Anyway, well, I'll let you
Yeah,
go because, like I said,
no worries.
I could sit here and talk for another hour, but I know you got things to do today, and I need to let my store manager go home for the day. So, but once again, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'll post several links in the notes, and look forward to doing this again in the future, and getting some more, at least some pictures up of us playing this weekend. So,
And if you need a
yeah,
hand, let me
thanks.
know
And
with rules.
anything
Yeah,
else?
hit me up with that stuff if you want anything
Okay.
with the rules. I know the hobby homies when they did
What
theirs, they were
is
just firing
what
rules questions
is
at me.
not just for me, but other people that are playing? What is the best way to, if we do have a rules question or a question in general, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Probably Facebook. Hey, like most people post things there. I am
Facebook.
compiling an FAQ based on the Facebook
Okay.
feedback I've had and then feedback from
Okay.
some of the channels.
And I
Sometimes
know.
my Australianisms with how I communicate can be a little bit hard to understand because we use a lot of slang. We use a lot of in Australia. It's not
Hey,
sort of guttural English. So
you're better than the
yeah,
Brits. So,
yeah, yeah, they invented the damn language. Yeah,
oh man.
but yeah.
So, but yeah. Okay. So, and I'll do that. It's just I'll try not to wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a rules
Well, you
question.
got me on Messenger as well, so it's a good way to get to me.
Yeah, no,
But
I'm
our
kidding.
time zones
When
are a
we're
bit out
playing,
there.
you'll be sleeping.
Yeah,
So,
that's all right, mate.
but well, okay. I think we'll end there, and I appreciate everything. So, hang on. I'm going to do my little closing, but hang on with me for a second.